Up to this point, we've learned a lot about how to use Excel to build efficient tables of information. We've seen some really useful functions and formatting techniques, and now we're going to really expand our capabilities with the if statement. Now, the if statement lets you evaluate a value and then take a different course of action depending on the results of your evaluation. It works much like it does in real life. Consider the following simple statement. If it's raining, I will take an umbrella. If it's not, I won't. That should make sense to everyone. We're evaluating a condition, is it raining or not, and then adjusting our action based on the answer. The if statement in Excel works exactly the same way. We're going to evaluate something and choose the best action based on the result. We're also going to look at the and or functions because they're ways to evaluate several conditions at the same time within an if statement. Now to get started, we should be on the if and or tab of our worksheet. And what we're going to do here is we've got a little data loaded. We've got a list of about 10 names and we have some data about those people. We have a yes or no answer if they know Excel and a yes or no if they know Word. And what we eventually want to do is find out all the people that know both of those and then all the people that know at least one of those. They at least know Excel or Word. Now I've gone ahead in this demo to make it a little easier to understand. I have conditional formatting on this table. So we could pretty easily on this table visually see that Allison is somebody who knows them both and so is Eric. Think about using these techniques for tables that are hundreds if not thousands of rows long. Conditional formatting is not going to be the best way to just pick out who knows both of them. We want to put that value in there. For starters, we're going to build the knows Excel function. And what we're going to put in there is just some words if they know Excel or not. And we're going to use the function builder because I think this will be easier to understand the first time if we do that. So I'm just going to look up my if function, double click it, and then Excel is looking for three things in this if statement. It's looking for a logical test, it's looking for the value if true, and it's looking for a value if false. Now the logical test is nothing more than something that returns a true or false answer, or a yes and no. It's one or the other. It's got to be, yes or no, or true or false. So what we're going to do here is just have a simple logical test, okay? And what we're going to do is say, does that cell for knowing Excel equal yes? Okay, now right away our function builder has shown us that for this row that we're on, that's false. So if it's false, then they don't know Excel. So if it's true, they do know Excel. So what we want to do, put parentheses there, I'm just going to type the words in. And in the case of it being false, I'm not going to put a blank there. I could, but I'm going to put 3 dots. I kind of like that in if statements because if it's blank, you don't know if there isn't a value or if there's just not a formula. If you put something in there, it lets the user know, hey, something is being evaluated. I'm looking at every row, so you're good there. Okay, so we'll click OK. And exactly what we thought would happen. Because they don't know Excel, then we get the 3 dots. Now, if I copy this formula down, we get a list of everybody that knows Excel. Now let's go over to the knows Word column and we'll build that, but let's just build it with the if function right from the cell. Equals if, parentheses, what's my logical test again? If this column equals yes, then they know Microsoft Word. If not, they don't. Okay. All right. Well, that's pretty good. It gives us kind of a good base of seeing who knows both. It's not that much better than the conditional formatting. What we're going to eventually get to is these columns down here, where they know both of them or they know at least one. Before we get to those formulas, though, for the knows both and knows one, we have to talk about and or. So I'm going to scroll down a little bit. And let's talk about these. An and can evaluate several things, and it'll return true if everything is true. Okay? If you've got 2 things you're checking, A and B, if both of them are true, then the and function will return true. If A is true and B is false, then it'll be false. Likewise, if A is false and B is true, then it'll be false. And if they're all false, then they're all false. Okay? Now over to the right a little bit, I've got some examples of some logical conditions, okay? Now we're used to writing formulas where we just write the formula, equals 2 plus 2. But what I don't know if you've seen yet is this formula here that actually has an equation within the formula. It's saying equals 2 plus 2 equals 4. We're not used to having that equals 4 in there. So what can Excel do with that? All it can do is say, hey, is that equation true or false? Is that right or wrong? So with 2 plus 2, that's absolutely true. With 2 plus 3 equals 9, that's false. So that returns a false. So with 4 plus 4 equals 3, that's also false. And 1 plus 1 equals 2, that's true. So let's see how this AND function works real quick. And what I've done here is the actual equations of what is being evaluated are listed over here in text, so you can see what it is. But if we look at the formula here, this is true, that's actually evaluating, does 2 plus 2 equal 4? That's true, yes. And this one is evaluating, does 2 plus 3 equals 9? That's false. And so on. So let's see how we work that AND function. Let's type in AND, parenthesis, equals AND. And now I'm going to click on that first true part, and then I'll hit comma, and then I'll hit the second true part. So both of those were true. In an AND, that means everything's true. What if I tried to do another one here, the false one? So that'll be false. So that's kind of how that works. And you're going to see when we get back up to our example how that'll be relevant. Now the OR is another function that tests for certain conditions, but the OR is different in that it's true if at least one of the conditions is true. So the same as the AND, if all of them are true, OR returns true. But here's where it's different. Is A, if A is true and B is false, then OR returns a true. And if A is false and B is true, then OR returns a true. So really, where they differ is these two rows here, where one is true and the other isn't. The ANDs will be false and the ORs will be true. And you're going to see how this is relevant in just a minute, I promise, because right now, you're probably scratching your head a little bit. So let's go back up here. And what we want to do is we want to do the AND condition for knows Excel and knows Word. So let's just type equals AND. Let's do our logical test again. This is equal to yes. And then the second one is Word equal to yes. And that's false. And if I drag it all the way down, and you see this is going to be our basis for if they know both of them, because it's true if both are yes. So the OR will be the one that we use to see if they know at least one of the applications. So from here I'll type OR, and same thing. That equals yes, and that equal, or I should say, that equals yes. So this one's different. Everybody that knew at least Word or Excel got a true value in OR. Now, I did it this way so that you can see how we construct this if statement, because we're going to do this if statement with everything in there. But this way, breaking it down in pieces kind of helps us understand what the AND does and what the OR does, because instead of just being a simple checking for Excel or Word, we're going to check for both of them at the same time. Okay? So now let's go to knows both. Okay, now let's use that function builder to build our statement here. We're going to go to if, and for our logical test, we're going to put the whole AND statement in there. So we're going to say AND that equals yes, comma, that equals yes. And now the value, if true, if they're both yes, then we're going to type in knows both of them. Otherwise, our 3 dots. Copy that down. And now how about knows one? We're going to put that or condition there into the if statement. And this time we'll just type it. Equals if or that equals yes, comma, knows word equals yes. Oh, I forgot to put my closing parenthesis around the or. And then my dots. And that's it. So now you've learned how to take an if statement and some fairly rudimentary data, just yes, no's, and some columns, combine it together and have another column that just explicitly tells everybody, hey, does this person know both Excel and Word, or does this person know at least one of the two? So unfortunately for Jen, she doesn't know either one, so she's probably going to not make it to round 2. So in this lesson, we learned how to take an if statement and have it enrich our data in our table by providing more meaningful values if they weren't right there in the raw data. We also learned how to use the and or functions to help expand our capabilities when we use an if statement. All right, let's get ready for the next lesson.